At the beginning of the drama, we are introduced to the cute female lead. Her real name is quite long, so for convenience, we'll call her Belle. Belle lives in a small village in the Philippines with her grandmother and uncle. When she was only 11 years old, her mother passed away. Since then, she has been living with her grandmother and uncle in this peaceful village. The family runs a small food business. Belle's grandmother cooks delicious meals, while Belle delivers the food to customers' homes. This simple routine has become Belle's everyday life, and despite not having much, she is quite happy with it. One day, after returning home, Belle's grandmother tells her that her father had called. According to him, he wants Belle to come to Manila and continue her studies there. Hearing this, Belle immediately refuses. She tells her grandmother to inform that man that she has no intention of going. It is obvious that Belle doesn't have a good relationship with her father. However, her grandmother suddenly becomes emotional and reminds Belle that her late mother always wanted her daughter to study in a good school. Since there aren't many educational opportunities in their village, she encourages Belle to leave for Manila. Even though Belle doesn't want to go, she eventually agrees because she doesn't want to disappoint her grandmother. The next day is Belle's departure day, and everyone is emotional. Her grandmother and friends are trying their best not to cry as they say goodbye to her. While Belle and her uncle are on their way to the airport, they get into a small accident. Belle only suffers minor injuries, but the driver gets hurt more seriously. Naturally, Belle becomes furious at the person responsible for the accident. But the moment the driver of the other car steps out, all her anger mysteriously disappears. Standing there is an incredibly handsome young man. This is Dev, the male lead of our drama. Dev is trying to get Belle's attention, but she is completely lost in his good looks. Finally, Dev says, "Just tell me how much money you need. I'll compensate you and leave because I'm in a hurry." The moment Belle hears the word money, she snaps back to reality. She angrily tells him, "You caused an accident and now you're talking about money? Who asked for money? Take this injured man to the hospital first." Dev, however, doesn't seem interested in arguing. He says that it wasn't his fault because the other vehicle was driving on the wrong side of the road. He tells her to take the money if she wants it, otherwise he's leaving. And with that, he drives away. This leaves Belle completely furious, and she starts yelling insults at him as he disappears from sight. Anyway, after a lot of trouble, Belle finally reaches the airport. Her uncle is also emotional because Belle is leaving after spending so many years with them. Soon, she boards the plane and arrives in Manila. At the airport, Belle finally meets her father after many years. Usually, seeing a parent after such a long time would be an emotional moment, but Belle doesn't feel anything. Their relationship was never good, so there isn't much warmth between them. Her father takes her home, where we are introduced to his second wife and their daughter Luna. Judging from their expressions, it's pretty obvious that neither of them is happy to see Belle. The following day, Luna takes Belle to school. It turns out Belle's father has already arranged her admission there. On the way, Luna coldly tells Belle not to talk to her at school. She doesn't want anyone to know that they are sisters. Hearing this, Belle is quite surprised. Later, the principal calls Belle into the office and introduces her to a friendly girl named Anna. Anna quickly takes Belle around the school and introduces her to the rest of her friends. Among them are Tara and Xavier. While they are talking, a famous group called Alpha 3 enters the school. They are extremely popular, and the moment they arrive, girls start running everywhere just to catch a glimpse of them. The leader of Alpha 3 is none other than Dev himself. Yes, the same arrogant guy from the accident. Anna and Tara try to show Dev and his gang to Belle, but unfortunately she trips and falls before she can even see him properly. Later, while everyone is in the cafeteria, a girl approaches Dev with a poster. She tells him that she wants him and Kim to get back together. The poster contains several photos of Dev and Kim together. The moment Dev sees it, he becomes furious. Apparently, Kim is his ex-girlfriend, and it's a topic he absolutely hates discussing. He immediately warns the girl that if she ever brings up Kim again, he will report her to the principal. Not only that, but he even shoves her away. Seeing this makes Belle extremely angry. She decides she needs to teach this rude guy a lesson, but before she can confront him, she accidentally embarrasses herself and nearly falls. Finally, Dev and Belle come face to face again. Both of them are shocked to recognize each other. Belle immediately starts scolding him for mistreating that girl. However, Dev misunderstands the situation completely. Since they already argued after the accident, he assumes Belle has come looking for compensation money. Without saying much, Dev hands her his bank card and says, "Take whatever amount you need." This only makes Belle even angrier. She cannot believe how arrogant this guy is. So without wasting another second, she punches Dev right in the face. And seeing the leader of Alpha 3 getting punched by a new girl leaves everyone around them absolutely shocked. After Belle punched Dev, the entire incident quickly spread across social media. Everyone in school was talking about it. One of Dev's friends, Lee, was especially impressed. He told Dev that the girl definitely had courage and even asked if he already knew her from somewhere. However, Dev didn't answer any of their questions. Meanwhile, Anna and Tara were desperately trying to convince Belle not to mess with Dev anymore. They explained that Dev was one of the most influential students in the school, and fighting with him would only create problems. But Belle wasn't interested in listening to their warnings. A little later, Luna and her two friends arrived and started scolding Belle for hitting Dev. Naturally, Belle became angry, but somehow she managed to control herself and avoided creating another scene. Soon, everyone headed to their classrooms. The seat Belle chose happened to be Dev's seat. The students immediately warned her and told her to sit somewhere else, but Belle refused to move. Just then, Dev entered the classroom. The moment he saw Belle sitting in his place, he ordered a couple of boys to move her to the back. Hearing this made Belle furious, and before long, another huge argument broke out between them. The funny thing was that Dev could never seem to win an argument against Belle. No matter what he said, she always had a comeback ready. Eventually, Dev got so frustrated that he simply stormed out of the classroom. After classes ended, Anna and Tara once again tried to make Belle understand that constantly fighting with Dev wasn't a good idea. But Belle continued talking badly about him without realizing that Dev was standing nearby and listening to everything. Hearing her words, Dev slowly walked closer to her. Belle immediately said, "What now? Are you here to start another fight?" But surprisingly, Dev didn't say anything. Instead, he just stared at her. At that exact moment, another student accidentally bumped into Dev from behind. Because of the sudden push, Dev fell forward, and he and Belle ended up having what looked like a kiss. Everyone around them was instantly shocked. However, it wasn't actually a lip-to-lip kiss. A sheet of paper happened to be between their faces the entire time. Embarrassed, Belle quickly pushed Dev away. But before leaving, Dev stepped closer again and said, "Get ready to fall in love with me." The moment Belle heard that, she immediately replied, "Me? Fall in love with you? That's impossible. No matter how hard you try, I'll never like you." After hearing her response, Dev looked confused and said, "Hello, miss. I wasn't talking to you." It turned out the paper between them had the words, "Get ready to fall in love" written on it, and Dev had simply been reading the text aloud. Unfortunately, Belle thought he was talking to her. Realizing her mistake, she became incredibly embarrassed. Before long, news of their accidental kiss spread across social media as well. Most of the girls in school started criticizing Belle because they were jealous that she had gotten so close to the school's most popular boy. Meanwhile, Anna and Tara couldn't stop teasing her. They kept asking, "So tell us, how did it feel when the most popular guy in school kissed you?" Belle immediately denied everything. "What are you talking about? There wasn't any kiss. Didn't you see the paper between us?" On the other hand, Dev's friends were teasing him too. They joked, "That was your first kiss, right? So how did it feel?" Dev acted completely unaffected and said, "I didn't feel anything. She wants to challenge me? Fine. I'll show her what happens when someone messes with me." Later, Belle went to a cafe with Anna, Tara, and Xavier. Coincidentally, the cafe owner was looking for a part-time employee. Since Belle wanted to earn some money, she immediately volunteered and got the job. Meanwhile, we see Dev visiting a hospital. There, we are introduced to Dev's older brother, who has been in a coma for quite some time. We also meet Dev's mother. However, his mother doesn't speak warmly to him at all. The reason is that something terrible happened to Dev's brother in the past, and somehow Dev blames himself for it. Because of this incident, he carries a lot of guilt in his heart. To make things even worse, neither his mother nor his father treats him kindly anymore. As a result, Dev often feels lonely despite being surrounded by people. The details of what happened in the past will be revealed later in the story. On the other side, after finishing her part-time job, Belle was returning home with her friends when they ran into her father near the gate. To everyone's surprise, Belle referred to her own father as Uncle. Hearing this, her father looked visibly shocked. Anna and the others recognized him as Luna's father and started talking to him. For a moment, Belle's father wanted to tell them that he was Belle's father too, but after looking at Belle, he simply nodded and said that he was Luna's father. The group then became curious and asked Belle if that meant she and Luna were cousins. Belle simply replied, "Yeah." After saying goodbye, her friends left. Belle's father immediately realized that Luna must have forced Belle to hide her identity at school. Because of this, he later scolded Luna severely. Naturally, Luna became even more angry at Belle and started blaming her for everything. Meanwhile, Dev was alone watching the video of his accidental kiss with Belle that had gone viral online. Interestingly, while watching it, he couldn't help smiling. No matter how much Dev claimed that he felt nothing after the incident, it was becoming pretty obvious that Belle had already started occupying a small corner of his heart. The next day, Dev was at the basketball court when he spotted Belle wearing her school uniform. And honestly, Belle looked incredibly pretty. For a few moments, Dev couldn't take his eyes off her. Noticing him staring, Belle immediately asked, "What happened? Are you planning to kiss me again or something?" Belle notices Dev staring at her on the basketball court, so she immediately teases him and says, "What happened? Are you planning to kiss me again?" Dev smirks and replies, "And what if I do kiss you?" Without missing a beat, Belle says, "Then you'll have to make me your girlfriend." Dev quickly responds, "But I don't like you." Belle confidently says, "That's okay. Slowly you'll start liking me, and eventually you'll fall in love with me too." Hearing this, Dev pulls Belle closer. He slowly leans in as if he's actually about to kiss her. But just before their lips can meet, a girl suddenly appears and interrupts them. This girl is Kim, Dev's ex-girlfriend. Kim immediately asks Dev, "What do you think you're doing?" At that point, Belle calls Dev crazy and punches him right in the face. And then, Dev suddenly wakes up. The entire scene was just a dream. Realizing that he had dreamed about Belle, Dev becomes quite surprised. After all, why would she suddenly appear in his dreams? The next day, Dev arrives at school and orders his followers to bully Belle. Soon, everyone starts treating her badly and trying to make her uncomfortable. Naturally, Belle gets angry, but since she is outnumbered, she can't really do much about it. After school, Dev and his friends are hanging out together while watching the videos involving Belle that have been spreading online. At that moment, Yukiro says something unexpected. He comments that Belle doesn't look ugly at all. In fact, he thinks she's actually very pretty. Ran immediately tells him that there must be something wrong with his eyes. But Lee agrees with Yukiro and says that Belle is genuinely beautiful. He even claims that she is prettier than Dev's ex-girlfriend Kim. Interestingly, after hearing that, Dev doesn't get angry. Instead, he quietly smiles. The following day, Dev and his friends come up with yet another plan to bully Belle. At the time, Belle is peacefully sleeping in the classroom. Dev slowly walks closer and starts looking at her sleeping face from a very short distance. Seeing this, his friends immediately begin teasing him. Feeling embarrassed, Dev gives Ran a signal. Ran understands immediately and sticks chewing gum into Belle's hair. A little later, Belle wakes up and notices the disaster that has happened to her hair. It doesn't take her long to figure out who is responsible. Meanwhile, Dev and his friends are standing nearby laughing at her. But instead of crying or panicking, Belle shocks everyone. She grabs a pair of scissors and simply cuts off the damaged part of her hair. Everyone is left speechless. In fact, throughout the entire day, every plan Dev comes up with ends in failure, because Belle somehow manages to defend herself every single time. By the end of the day, even Dev is amazed by how tough she is. Meanwhile, we start noticing something interesting among the friend group. Lee keeps smiling whenever he looks at Tara, and Tara smiles back at him. At the same time, Yukiro keeps staring at Anna, and Anna also seems happy whenever she sees him. So it's becoming pretty obvious that some romantic feelings are starting to develop between these pairs. After school, Belle heads to her part-time job at the cafe. Unfortunately, some students from her class find out where she works. Wanting to make fun of her, they place a huge food order. Belle works hard to prepare everything and delivers the food to the address they provided. However, when she arrives, there is nobody there. That's when Belle realizes she has been tricked. The students only place the order to waste her time and humiliate her. She immediately calls her boss and explains the situation. But instead of understanding, the cafe owner becomes furious. He tells Belle that she accepted the order, so if the food goes to waste, the cost will be deducted from her salary. Hearing this leaves Belle extremely worried. As if things weren't already bad enough, heavy rain suddenly starts pouring. At that exact moment, her uncle calls. He tells her that her grandmother's condition has become worse. They need expensive medicine immediately, but he doesn't have enough money to buy it. Hearing this breaks Belle's heart. Even though she is worried herself, she tries to sound strong and reassures her uncle. She tells him not to worry because she is working part-time and will send money for the medicine as soon as possible. After hanging up the phone, Belle can no longer hold back her emotions. She starts crying. A little later, she ends up outside a club where Dev and his friends are hanging out. Coincidentally, Dev's car is parked outside. Because of everything that has happened, Belle assumes that Dev was the one who arranged the fake food order to bully her. Filled with frustration, sadness, and anger, she throws all the food onto Dev's car and breaks down crying. A few moments later, Dev and his friends come out of the club. When Dev sees the condition of his car, he immediately becomes angry. Belle then explodes at him. She says, "Was bullying me at school not enough? Now you've started bullying me at my workplace too?" Dev looks completely confused. He says, "What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're saying." Belle continues angrily. She tells him that because of the fake order, she now has to pay 10,000 pesos in compensation. She says, "Maybe that amount means nothing to someone like you, but I need money to buy medicine for my grandmother. That's why I'm working so hard. Please stop bullying me." For the first time, Dev notices how desperate and hurt Belle really is. He calmly tells her, "I think you've misunderstood something. I didn't place that food order." But Belle is too upset to listen. She refuses to believe him and walks away. As Dev watches her leave in tears, he starts feeling guilty. For the first time, seeing Belle in such a vulnerable state makes his heart ache a little. Meanwhile, Belle continues walking home in the rain, crying the entire way. After everything that happened, Belle doesn't return home until very late at night. As soon as she enters the house, her father asks where she has been all this time. Belle simply replies that she was working at her part-time job. Hearing this surprises her father. He tells her that if she ever needs money, she can just ask him and he'll give it to her. However, Belle politely refuses. She says, "No, that's not necessary. You've already done a lot for me." Even though her words sound respectful, they create a distance between them that makes her father feel sad. It is clear that Belle still doesn't see him as someone she can rely on. Later, after going to her room, Belle starts writing an email to a certain person. She writes about everything that happened that day, the good moments, the bad moments, and all the frustrations she is carrying inside her heart. But in the end, she doesn't send the email. The next day at school, Dev keeps looking toward Belle. After seeing her cry the previous night, he has actually been feeling guilty. Because of that, he decides that he wants to return the 10,000 pesos she lost. Meanwhile, Anna, Tara, and the others are discussing ways to help Belle buy medicine for her grandmother. But Belle immediately refuses. She says, "Why should you guys pay for anything? It's all because of that Dev. He's such a rude jerk. Honestly, sometimes I feel like even his own mother hates him because of the way he behaves." Unfortunately for Belle, Anna's phone has their group chat open at that exact moment. Without anyone realizing it, the phone accidentally records Belle's words and sends them to the group. At the same time, Dev is approaching Belle to give her the money. But before he can reach her, everyone's phones receive the notification. When Dev listens to the recording and hears Belle saying that even his mother hates him, his expression immediately changes. The guilt he felt disappears and he quietly walks away. As if that wasn't enough, a few girls who worship Dev become furious after hearing Belle's comment. They immediately throw food on her and start insulting her for speaking badly about him. Later that day, Dev visits his brother at the hospital. Sitting beside his unconscious brother, Dev starts talking to him. He says, "Today Belle called me rude. She also said Mom hates me." After a brief pause, he continues, "But she's right. Mom really doesn't like me anymore." His voice becomes emotional as he looks at his brother. "You're the only one who can fix everything, so please wake up soon." It's obvious that despite his arrogant attitude, Dev is carrying a lot of pain inside. The following day, Dev is once again bothering Belle at school. However, this time their argument is witnessed by the principal. Both of them are immediately called into the office. The principal says that because of their constant fights, the school's reputation is being damaged. As punishment, he is considering suspending both of them. The moment they hear the word suspension, both Belle and Dev start pleading with him. Neither of them wants to be suspended. After listening to them, the principal finally offers a solution. He says that he won't suspend them under one condition. They must work together on a special project. If they can complete the project without fighting or causing any trouble, then they will avoid suspension. Even though neither of them likes the idea, they have no choice but to agree. After leaving the office, Belle immediately asks Dev when they're supposed to work on the project. At first, Dev doesn't answer. So Belle says, "Look, I don't want to work with you either, but I don't want to get suspended, so we have to do this." Dev finally responds. He tells her that he has a basketball game today. After the match, he'll be free, and she can come to his house so they can work on the project there. Then he simply walks away. Hearing that, Belle is left feeling a little surprised. Meanwhile, when Dev arrives at the basketball court, his friends immediately start teasing him. They keep asking whether he has some special plans now that he's invited Belle to his house. Dev becomes annoyed and quickly denies everything. He says, "It's not like that. I invited her because it's my house. She won't be able to fight with me there." Then he smirks and adds, "But I am definitely going to annoy her." On the other hand, Belle's friends are teasing her too. Belle immediately defends herself and says, "The principal forced us to do this. Otherwise, I would never work with that guy." She even says that if Dev didn't have a basketball game, she would have finished the project at school instead of going to his house. That's when her friends start telling her more about Dev. They explain that Dev plays basketball because of his older brother. Apparently, his brother was once an excellent basketball player whose biggest dream was to win a championship trophy. But before he could achieve that dream, he was shot and ended up falling into a coma. After that tragedy, Dev joined the basketball team to fulfill his brother's dream. Hearing this surprises Belle. For the first time, she starts wondering if Dev might not be as terrible as she originally thought. Curious, she asks how Dev's brother got shot, but none of her friends know the real story. Later that afternoon, Belle finally arrives at Dev's house. While looking around, she asks one of the maids decides where the restroom is. The maid tells her to go upstairs. However, once Belle gets there, she becomes confused because there are so many rooms. Thinking she has found the correct door, she enters one of the rooms and walks toward what she assumes is the bathroom. But just as she reaches for the handle, the bathroom door suddenly opens, and out walks Dev. The sight instantly freezes Belle in place. She clearly wasn't expecting to find him there. Realizing how awkward the situation is, Belle becomes extremely embarrassed. Belle immediately tries to leave the room, but no matter what she does, she can't get the door open. Seeing her struggle, Dev can't help smiling. He slowly walks closer to her and asks, "What are you doing here?" Belle looks up at him, and for a moment, they lock eyes. Feeling embarrassed, she quickly explains, "I was looking for the restroom. I accidentally entered the wrong room." Dev smiles and points toward the bathroom. "You can use that one if you want." The moment he says that, Belle rushes straight into the bathroom. As soon as she looks at herself in the mirror, she notices that her cheeks have turned completely red. She is so embarrassed that she starts splashing water on her face again and again, trying to calm herself down. A few minutes later, she comes back out and immediately asks Dev, "Did you put on a shirt yet?" Dev decides to tease her. "Nope. Not yet." Belle instantly panics. "What are you doing then? Hurry up and put one on. How long am I supposed to stand here?" Dev casually replies, "This is my room. I usually stay like this, so I'm not wearing a shirt." Belle immediately protests, "But I'm here right now, so you have to wear one." Dev laughs and says, "Fine, I already put one on, you can look now." Even then, Belle doesn't trust him. She covers her eyes with her hands and warns him, "If you're lying and you haven't put one on, I'm going to punch you again." When she finally peeks through her fingers, she sees that Dev is actually wearing a shirt. After that, Dev tells her to come sit beside him. Belle immediately becomes suspicious. She looks at him and says, "What's your plan? If you're thinking about trying anything weird, I'll seriously kill you." Hearing that makes Dev laugh. Ignoring her complaints, he pulls her over and makes her sit beside him. Then he suddenly takes out his phone and snaps a selfie with her. Confused, Belle asks why he did that. Dev explains, "We'll show this to the principal. It'll prove that we worked together on the project." Then he casually adds, "You can go home now. I'll finish the entire project by myself and tell the principal that you helped me." Hearing that, Belle immediately shakes her head. "No way! If you don't actually do the project, the principal will suspend me too." Dev smirks mischievously. "Oh, I get it now. You just want to stay here with me. That's why you don't want to leave." Belle rolls her eyes. "You really think too highly of yourself." While looking around the room, Belle notices a game console nearby. An idea instantly comes to her mind. She says, "Fine, I'll leave, but only if you can beat me in this game." Dev immediately accepts the challenge. Belle gets the first turn. As she focuses on the game, Dev keeps staring at her. For some reason, he finds her surprisingly attractive while she's concentrating. Unfortunately for him, Belle turns out to be really good at the game. Soon, it becomes Dev's turn. At first, he is doing extremely well and is about to win. But then Belle suddenly says, "Why are you so hot?" The unexpected compliment catches Dev completely off guard. He becomes nervous and loses focus. As a result, he ends up losing the game. Immediately afterward, Dev stands up and accuses her of cheating. "You cheated!" Belle looks confused. "How?" Dev points at her and says, "Why did you suddenly call me hot?" Trying not to laugh, Belle replies, "I think you heard what you wanted to hear. I didn't call you hot. I called you hot-tempered." Dev refuses to accept defeat. "I don't care, you cheated, we're playing again." And surprisingly, Belle agrees. During the second round, Dev keeps moving closer and closer to her, trying to distract her the same way she distracted him. But right then, someone unexpectedly enters the room. It's Dev's mother. The moment Dev sees her, he becomes a little nervous. He quickly introduces Belle and says, "She's my friend." His mother warmly greets Belle and then notices how late it has become. She tells Belle to stay and have dinner with them before going home. Belle politely agrees. During dinner, Dev's mother asks her a simple question. "What kind of student is Dev at school?" Instead of telling the truth, Belle starts praising him. She says, "Dev is actually a really good student. We became friends on the very first day." Dev nearly chokes hearing that. Belle continues, "He's excellent in his studies and he's also amazing at basketball. In fact, he has an important match coming up soon. You should come watch it." The moment she says that, Dev immediately looks toward his mother. Deep down, he desperately wants her to attend his game. However, his mother simply shakes her head. She says that she's too busy and won't be able to come. The disappointment on Dev's face is obvious, and Belle notices it immediately. For someone who acts tough all the time, Dev looks surprisingly hurt. Later that night, the two of them return to Dev's room and finally start working on their project. While they are studying, Dev quietly hands Belle 10,000 pesos. However, he still doesn't tell her that he wasn't responsible for the fake food order. Instead, he simply gives her the money. He then thanks her for speaking so positively about him in front of his mother. Meanwhile, Belle is chatting with Anna on her phone and smiling. Seeing her smile like that makes Dev curious, or maybe a little jealous. He walks over and asks, "Who are you texting, some guy?" The way he asks the question makes it sound suspiciously like jealousy. Belle immediately replies that she's just chatting with Anna. A little later, Belle notices a picture of Kim on Dev's phone. Curious, she asks why he broke up with his ex-girlfriend. The moment Kim's name comes up, Dev becomes visibly annoyed. At first, he refuses to talk about it, but Belle keeps insisting until he finally gives in. He tells her, "Kim was my first girlfriend, but she wasn't my true love." Then he reveals that Kim cheated on him with another guy. Because of that betrayal, he ended their relationship. After telling his story, Dev turns toward Belle and says, "All right, now tell me about yourself." After hearing about Kim, Dev suddenly becomes curious about Belle's past. So he asks her, "Have you ever had a boyfriend?" Belle immediately avoids the question and refuses to answer. Dev protests, "That's not fair. I told you about my relationship, so now you have to tell me about yours." Belle crosses her arms and replies, "Why should I? We're not even that close." Hearing that, Dev moves a little closer and says, "Come on, now you definitely have to tell me." But Belle still refuses to answer. Eventually, Dev grabs her phone and refuses to give it back. Realizing she has no choice, Belle finally starts talking. She tells him that she did have a boyfriend once. His name was RJ. However, one day RJ suddenly left her without any explanation. Since then, she hasn't heard from him and doesn't even know where he is now. Then, just to annoy Dev, she adds that RJ was an even better basketball player than him. The moment Dev hears that, his competitive side activates. He immediately says, "Really? Then whenever you meet RJ again, let me know. I'll challenge him to a basketball match and show you who's the better player." The next day at school, Belle and Dev are scheduled to present their project. Meanwhile, Lee quietly sits beside Tara. The moment he sits down, Tara gives him a cake that she specifically brought for him. Then she nervously asks if he likes it. Without thinking, Lee blurts out, "I like you." Tara immediately freezes and stares at him. Realizing what he just said, Lee quickly corrects himself. "I mean, yes, I like it." Hearing that makes Tara smile shyly. At the same time, Yukiro is secretly drawing Anna's portrait. Unfortunately for him, Anna catches him in the act. This leads to a cute conversation between the two, making it even more obvious that feelings are developing there as well. A little later, Belle and Dev begin presenting their project. The project focuses on anti-bullying. During the presentation, Dev publicly announces that he will never bully anyone again. Not only that, but he also apologizes to Belle in front of everyone for the way he treated her. Then he tells the entire school that from now on, nobody should bully others and everyone should try to be friends instead. His speech makes everyone happy, but the happiest person there is probably Belle. After all, she never expected Dev to change this much. And from that day onward, Dev genuinely starts treating Belle much better. Of course, Dev's friends immediately begin teasing him. They keep saying that it looks like Dev has started liking Belle. Meanwhile, one particular girl becomes extremely jealous, seeing how close Belle and Dev have become. Unable to control her jealousy, she suddenly grabs Belle by the hair in front of everyone. The moment this happens, Dev rushes over and pulls the girl away from Belle. The girl then looks at Dev and says, "You're changing. Have you forgotten about that night?" Dev looks confused. "What night?" The girl immediately continues. "The night you broke up with Kim. You were drinking that night and I was with you. We were about to kiss." Hearing this shocks everyone around them. Even Dev is stunned. A few seconds later, he bluntly says, "What nonsense are you talking about? I don't even know you. Why would I spend the night with you?" The moment Dev says that, everyone realizes the girl is clearly lying. People start laughing at her, and feeling humiliated, she runs away in tears. Afterward, Dev turns to Belle and asks if she's okay. Belle reassures him that she's fine. Later, everyone heads to the library to study. Well, almost everyone. Because while the others are studying, Dev spends most of his time staring at Belle. At one point, Belle struggles to reach a book on a high shelf. Seeing this, Yukiro jokingly sighs and says, "If only I were taller." Then I could go help Belle. Hearing that, Dev simply smiles. Then Lee nudges him and says, "What are you waiting for? How much longer are you going to make the poor girl wait?" Finally, Dev gets up and walks over to Belle. Without saying much, he reaches up and grabs the book she needs. The moment Belle looks up and sees him standing so close, her heart suddenly starts racing. For some reason, she even starts blushing. Later that evening, after returning home, Dev sends Belle a message asking whether she reached home safely. However, Belle doesn't reply immediately, so Dev keeps staring at his phone and waiting. A notification finally appears. Excited, Dev quickly checks it, but it's not Belle, it's just a random message. A little later, another notification arrives. Once again, Dev excitedly grabs his phone, but this time it's a message from Ran. At this point, the poor guy is getting seriously annoyed. Finally, after a long wait, Belle replies. She simply says that yes, she arrived home safely. The moment Dev sees her message, a huge smile appears on his face. He quickly replies, "Good, I got home safely too." After that, the two of them continue chatting for a long time. Being able to talk with Belle makes Dev incredibly happy. In fact, he even finds himself blushing. And for the first time, he admits something to himself. "I think I've fallen in love with her." That night, Dev dreams about Belle again. In the dream, he slowly leans in and is just about to kiss her. But right before it happens, his alarm clock starts ringing. As a result, poor Dev can't even kiss Belle in his dreams. The next day, the school is holding a special event. The responsibility for organizing it has been given to Belle and Dev. However, Dev arrives late. Because of that, Belle is already annoyed with him. When Dev finally shows up, he tries to help her, but Belle refuses to talk to him. Meanwhile, Yukiro and Anna are trying to enjoy some romantic moments together. Unfortunately, Belle and Dev unintentionally keep ruining every opportunity they get. Wherever Belle goes, Dev follows right behind her. At the same time, Lee and Tara are also trying to spend some quality time together. But somehow, Belle and Dev manage to destroy their romantic mood too. At this point, these two are so busy focusing on each other that they're accidentally becoming the biggest obstacle to everyone else's love stories. During the school event, Belle is busy carrying several heavy boxes from one place to another. Unfortunately, she suddenly twists her ankle. As a result, she loses her balance and is about to fall. But before she can hit the ground, Dev quickly catches her. The problem is that Dev loses his balance too, so both of them end up falling together. The moment this happens, everyone around them starts cheering and making noise as if they just witnessed a romantic movie scene. Afterward, the event officially begins. While they are working together, Dev accidentally lets something slip. In the middle of a conversation, he suddenly says, "I like you." The moment those words leave his mouth, Belle freezes. She looks at him in complete shock. Seeing her reaction, Dev immediately becomes nervous. He quickly starts backtracking and says, "Relax, I was just joking." Even though he says it was a joke, the words stay in Belle's mind for the rest of the day. Later, after returning home, Belle keeps thinking about what happened. She repeatedly tries to convince herself that Dev was only joking. She tells herself, "Why would a guy like him ever like me?" Then she reminds herself of something else. Even if Dev did like her, she doesn't want to date anyone right now. What if he leaves her the same way RJ did? At this point, it's becoming obvious that Belle has started developing feelings for Dev too. The problem is that after being hurt once before, she no longer finds it easy to trust someone. The next day at school, Belle starts avoiding Dev. Dev tries multiple times to talk to her, but she keeps ignoring him and refuses to have a proper conversation. Watching Dev desperately try to get her attention is honestly pretty funny. His friends immediately start teasing him. Hearing all the teasing, Belle says, "He's not interested in me. He was just playing a prank." Those words hurt Dev more than she realizes, because unlike what everyone thinks, he genuinely likes her. However, instead of admitting it, Dev says in front of everyone, "Yeah, I don't like her. I was just joking around." The moment Belle hears that, her expression changes. She asks, "So our friendship was a joke to you too?" Now it's Dev's turn to get angry. He looks at her and says, "You still don't trust me?" Belle quietly replies, "No." After hearing that answer, Dev becomes disappointed. He says, "Fine, if you can't trust me, then our friendship ends here." And with that, he walks away. Later, Dev visits his brother at the hospital and tells him everything that happened with Belle at school. While he's there, he receives a message from Kim asking him to meet her, but Dev completely ignores the message and doesn't even bother replying. Meanwhile, Belle's friends are trying to make her understand the situation. They tell her, "We really think Dev likes you, so why are you treating him like this?" Belle finally reveals the real reason. She She says that she doesn't want to date anyone because she's afraid of getting hurt again. Then her friends ask her about RJ. At that point, Belle starts telling them the story of her first love. She explains that RJ used to live in the city, but during school vacations he would often visit her village. That's how they first met. Since RJ only came to the village once every year, Belle would spend months waiting for summer vacation just so she could see him again. As the years passed, their friendship slowly turned into love. Whenever RJ came to the village, they would spend all their time together and create countless happy memories. But one day, RJ moved overseas. Even after leaving, he continued communicating with Belle through email. Belle would write to him regularly, and he would always reply. However, after some time, RJ suddenly stopped responding. Belle continued sending emails hoping for an answer, but no matter how many messages she sent, RJ never replied. That period was incredibly painful for her. RJ was her first love, and from her perspective, he simply abandoned her without any explanation. Because of that heartbreak, Belle became afraid of trusting someone new. Later that night, Belle once again opens her email and writes a message to that same person. Just like every other time, she pours her feelings into the email, but once again, she never sends it. And this is where we learn an important detail. The person Belle has been writing emails to all this time is none other than RJ himself. The following day, Dev's friends decide that enough is enough. Since Belle and Dev are obviously miserable without each other, they come up with a plan to get them back together. According to the plan, Yakiro approaches Dev and casually says, "By the way, I'm going on a date with Belle today." The moment Dev hears that, he almost jumps out of his seat. "What? You're going on a date with her?" Yakiro immediately smirks. "Why do you care? You said you don't like her." Then he adds, "Unless you're jealous." Dev quickly denies it. "Who's jealous? Do whatever you want." But his reaction has already exposed him. After that, Dev immediately sends Belle a message asking to meet him. However, Belle replies that she isn't coming. Not wanting to give up, Dev sends another message. This time, he adds a very cute "please." And surprisingly, it works. Belle finally agrees. Just as Belle is heading to meet Dev, someone suddenly strikes her from behind. The blow lands directly on her head and she loses consciousness instantly. A little later, Dev arrives at the meeting place, but when he sees Belle lying there unconscious, he immediately panics. Without wasting a second, he rushes her to the hospital. After some time, Belle finally wakes up. When she opens her eyes, she sees all of her friends standing nearby, along with her father and stepmother. And that's when everyone finally learns the truth. Luna's father is actually Belle's father too. In other words, Luna and Belle are stepsisters. Belle's father then turns to Dev and thanks him for saving his daughter's life. Hearing those words makes Dev genuinely happy. However, that happiness doesn't last long, because Belle's father immediately adds, "I know how you treated Belle in the past. You bullied her and caused her a lot of trouble. Because of that, I don't want you anywhere near her anymore." Those words hit Dev hard. Feeling hurt, he decides not to meet Belle and quietly leaves the hospital. The next day at school, everyone is discussing who could have attacked Belle. During the conversation, Dev reveals something important. He says, "I saw the person who attacked her. From what I could tell, it looked like a girl." This makes everyone believe that Belle's attacker is female. Right afterward, we see Luna talking privately with another girl. Luna looks extremely nervous. She keeps saying, "If Dad finds out about this, he'll be furious." The other girl tries to calm her down. "Don't worry, nobody saw you." After hearing that conversation, it starts looking very suspicious. It almost seems as if Luna might be the one who attacked Belle. Meanwhile, Belle is resting and unexpectedly finds herself missing Dev. She is about to send him a message when her village friends contact her first. While chatting, they casually mention something surprising. They tell her that RJ was recently asking about her. Since he was worried, they informed him that Belle had been hospitalized. Hearing RJ's name immediately shocks Belle. At the same time, Dev is on his way to visit her. He even bought a giant teddy bear for her. However, before reaching Belle's room, he runs into another guy. The moment they see each other, neither of them looks happy. Apparently, the two have a history. They once competed against each other in a basketball match and have been rivals ever since. Dev asks him, "What are you doing here?" The guy replies, "I'm here to visit my girlfriend." Then he asks Dev the same question. Not wanting to lose, Dev confidently answers, "I'm here to see my girlfriend too." After saying that, he walks away. Secretly, Dev is feeling pretty happy because he hasn't seen Belle for an entire day. Unfortunately, when he reaches her room, he learns that she has already been discharged. Poor Dev instantly becomes disappointed. The following day at school, Dev looks completely depressed. His friends notice it immediately and start teasing him. Dev keeps asking them whether they've talked to Belle and how she's doing. Wanting to mess with him, they deliberately lie and say, "We don't think she's doing very well." The moment Dev hears that, he becomes even more restless. He immediately says, "Then let's go visit her today." Ran laughs and replies, "Why go all the way there? Just send her a message." Dev shakes his head and says, "You don't get it. I want to see her." At that point, Lee smirks and says, "Then maybe you should look behind you." Confused, Dev turns around, and there she is. Belle is standing right behind him. The moment Dev sees her healthy and smiling, it's like his soul returns to his body. Belle gives him a cute little smile, making him feel even better. Later, Dev sends her a message. He asks if she'll have lunch with him. He also apologizes for what happened between them and asks if they can be friends again. Meanwhile, Belle's friends are practically begging her to say yes. They tell her, "You have no idea how miserable this guy has been. He spent days worrying about you." Eventually, Belle agrees. When the two sit down together for lunch, Dev finally decides to stop hiding his feelings. He looks directly at Belle and says, "I don't want to be just your friend anymore." Then he takes a deep breath and continues, "I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" Belle immediately becomes speechless. She thinks he's joking again. So she says, "I know you're kidding. Stop messing with me." But this time Dev shakes his head. "No, I'm serious." Then he adds, "The first time I said I liked you, I meant it too. My feelings for you are real." Dev continues, "Trust me, I'll be the best boyfriend you've ever had." Hearing such a sincere confession leaves Belle confused. She doesn't reject him, but she doesn't accept him either. Instead, she quietly says, "I need some time." Dev smiles warmly. "That's okay. I'll wait." After that, Dev takes Belle to meet his older brother at the hospital. While standing beside the hospital bed, Belle looks at Dev's brother and finally asks the question she's been wondering about for so long. How did he end up like this? And with that question, we're finally about to learn the painful truth behind Dev's biggest regret. After hearing Belle's question, Dev finally reveals the painful truth about what happened to his brother. He says that everything started on the day he broke up with Kim. That day, Dev was completely heartbroken. To forget his pain, he drank far too much. While he was drunk, Kim kept calling him and asking for another chance, but Dev refused to answer and hung up every time. A little later, his older brother called him. Dev was crying so much that he ended up telling his brother everything. After hearing how devastated he was, his brother came to pick him up. At that point, Dev was barely conscious because of the alcohol. While they were driving home, several robbers suddenly attacked them. During the attack, Dev's brother was shot. When Dev finally woke up later, he learned that his brother had fallen into a coma. Ever since then, he has blamed himself for what happened. His mother blamed him too. She yelled at him, scolded him, and even hit him because she believed that none of this would have happened if Dev hadn't been drunk that night. With tears in his eyes, Dev admits, "I was unconscious, so I never saw who shot my brother." As he tells the story, he becomes increasingly emotional. Seeing him like this breaks Belle's heart. She immediately tries to comfort him. She tells him that none of it was his fault. The people responsible were the criminals who attacked them, not Dev. Then Dev reveals another surprising detail. He tells Belle that the very first day they met, he was actually chasing one of those criminals. He thought he had finally found the person responsible for ruining his brother's life, but he failed to catch him. After hearing that, Belle feels guilty for misunderstanding him and apologizes. Dev simply smiles and says, "Maybe I couldn't catch the criminal that day, but after that, I found you." Hearing those words makes Belle emotional as well. The next day, a familiar face suddenly returns to school. It's Kim. She has re-enrolled at the school. Seeing her shocks everyone, but nobody is more surprised than Dev. Kim acts as if nothing happened between them. She keeps calling him baby and constantly tries to get close to him. She even asks him to give their relationship another chance. However, Dev immediately shuts her down. He tells her, "Our relationship ended a long time ago." Then he adds, "There's someone else in my life now," and politely asks her to stop interfering. But Kim refuses to give up. In front of Belle, she suddenly tries to kiss Dev. Fortunately, Dev immediately steps back and avoids her. Watching all of this makes Belle incredibly angry. Not at Dev, at Kim. Afterward, Dev reassures Belle. He tells her that he no longer has any feelings for Kim. Then he sincerely says, "Please don't ever misunderstand me. I'll always be loyal to you." Later, while Belle is working at her part-time job, someone suddenly calls out her name. When she turns around, she freezes. Standing in front of her is RJ, the same RJ she has been waiting for all these years, which also means that the guy Dev met at the hospital was actually RJ. He had gone there specifically to see Belle. The moment Belle says his name, her friends are shocked. Meanwhile, Dev's friends immediately recognize him. They reveal that RJ is actually their basketball rival. Last year, RJ's team defeated their team in a major match. Hearing this surprises Belle even more. She looks at RJ and asks, "Wait a minute, you were here last year?" Then she continues, "I thought you were still living in the United States." At that moment, everything suddenly clicks in her mind. RJ wasn't gone because he couldn't contact her. He was here, and yet he never came to see her. He never replied to her emails. Naturally, Belle becomes upset. RJ tries to explain himself, but she refuses to listen at first. However, after he repeatedly asks for a chance, Belle finally agrees to hear him out. The two of them go outside and talk alone. RJ immediately apologizes for disappearing from her life. Then he confesses something that catches Belle completely off guard. He tells her, "I still love you," but Belle remains silent. Seeing that, RJ starts explaining everything that happened. He reveals that he originally went to the United States on a scholarship, but after arriving there, he discovered that the scholarship had been given to someone else. As a result, his mother had to pay his tuition fees herself. RJ was living with his mother and stepfather at the time. Unfortunately, his stepfather never liked him. He hated seeing money spent on RJ and constantly argued with RJ's mother because of it. On top of that, RJ was bullied at school. Little by little, all those problems crushed him emotionally. RJ admits that there were countless times when he wanted to talk to Belle, but he was afraid. He didn't want her to worry about him or become upset because of his problems. So instead of explaining the truth, he chose to stay silent. Then he tells her something else. The reason he returned was because he wanted to see her again. In fact, he even went to the hospital to visit her after hearing about her accident. But by the time he arrived, she had already been discharged. After hearing everything, Belle finally understands why RJ disappeared. And for the first time, she realizes that he never intentionally abandoned her. RJ then looks directly into her eyes and asks, "Can we start dating again?" For a moment, there is complete silence. Then Belle gently shakes her head. No. Hearing that answer clearly hurts RJ, but he doesn't give up completely. Instead, he forces a small smile and asks, "Then, can we at least stay friends?" After hearing RJ's request, Belle agrees to remain friends with him. RJ immediately becomes happy and gives her a warm hug. The next day at school, a shocking truth finally comes out. It turns out that one of the boys from Luna's group was responsible for attacking Belle that night. And Luna herself was involved in the plan. The girl Dev saw near the scene was actually Luna. After learning everything, the principal takes strict action. Luna and all of the students involved are suspended from school. When Belle's father finds out what happened, he becomes furious. Luna's mother desperately tries to convince him to talk to the principal and get Luna's suspension canceled. However, Belle's father refuses. He says that Luna made a serious mistake and must face the consequences. Even Belle tries defending Luna, but her father refuses to listen to anyone. As a result, the very next day, Luna's mother decides to leave with Luna. Belle repeatedly begs her stepsister not to go, but Luna simply apologizes and leaves with her mother. Watching them leave breaks Belle's heart. She ends up crying for a long time. Later, hoping to improve her mood, Belle visits an arcade club to play some games. While she's there, she unexpectedly runs into RJ. The two start talking about their childhood memories. During the conversation, Belle admits that she missed RJ a lot after he moved to America. Hearing that makes RJ smile. Really? Belle nods and says, "Yeah, but as a friend." That last part immediately ruins RJ's excitement. A little later, Belle tells him something else. She reveals that she used to write emails to him every single day. RJ looks surprised and asks what she wrote about. Belle explains that she wrote about everything happening in her life. She wrote about moving to the city. She wrote about her new school. And she even wrote about Dev constantly bullying her. The moment RJ hears Dev's name, he becomes curious. He asks, "Wait, Dev goes to your school? And he bullied you?" Belle nods. RJ immediately says, "If I had been there, I would have fought him for treating you like that." Hearing that makes Belle laugh. She reassures him that Dev isn't like that anymore. Then she accidentally says something very important. "Besides, Dev loves me now." The moment those words leave her mouth, RJ freezes. A few seconds later, he carefully asks, "Do you love him too?" Belle thinks about it for a moment. Then she quietly answers, "Maybe I do." Even though those words hurt RJ deeply, he hides his disappointment. Instead, he smiles and tells Belle that she can always talk to him about anything. No matter what happens, he'll always be her friend. Belle appreciates that and agrees. RJ then gives her another hug. Unfortunately, someone else witnesses that hug, Dev. As it turns out, he is also at the same club. And seeing Belle in RJ's arms immediately puts him in a bad mood. He walks over and asks, "Who's this?" Belle introduces RJ and explains that he's her ex-boyfriend. The moment Dev hears that, he says, "So this is the guy who disappeared and left you alone?" Now, Dev and RJ already disliked each other because of basketball, but after discovering that Belle is involved, their rivalry becomes twice as intense. The atmosphere quickly turns hostile. Thankfully, Belle steps in before things get out of control. She warns both of them that if they keep fighting, she'll end her friendship with both of them. Hearing that threat finally forces them to calm down. Afterward, Belle says she's she's going home. Then she tells both of them to go home too and absolutely not to fight. Since it's already late, Dev offers to take her home. However, Belle refuses because her father would be angry if he saw them together. RJ immediately offers to take her instead, but Belle refuses again and says she'll go by herself. Dev knows it's not safe for her to walk alone at night. Even though it hurts him, he puts Belle's safety first and tells her to go with RJ. The decision clearly makes Dev uncomfortable, and Belle notices that immediately. She doesn't really want to leave with RJ, but after Dev repeatedly insists, she finally agrees. The following day, Dev invites Belle to his house. When she arrives, she finds flowers, a teddy bear, and several gifts waiting for her. Looking around, Belle jokingly asks, "Is this a date?" Dev immediately shakes his head. "No, you haven't agreed to date me yet." Then he grins and adds, "You can think of this as a trailer. If you like it, maybe you'll agree to the full movie later." Belle laughs and asks, "And what if I don't like it?" Dev confidently replies, "I won't give you that option. I'll do my absolute best." Then he looks directly at her and says, "I know you like me too, you're just refusing to admit it." The moment he says that, Belle starts blushing. Of course, Dev notices immediately. With a teasing smile, he says, "See? I told you. That's why you're blushing." Belle can't help smiling. At this point, Dev had actually prepared many more surprises for her. Unfortunately, before they can continue, Belle receives a call from her father. He tells her to come home immediately. The moment Dev hears that, his mood instantly drops. As Belle is about to leave, Dev suddenly stops her. Then, in a sincere voice, he says, "There's one more thing I want to tell you." Belle turns around. Dev takes a deep breath and says, "I love you." Then he continues, "You don't have to answer right now. Take as much time as you need." And finally, he adds, "Even if your answer is no, please tell me. I'll keep waiting until you're ready." After hearing those words, Belle doesn't know what to say. She simply stands there, silently looking at him. Because deep down, her heart is already starting to lean toward Dev. Meanwhile, the next day, an important basketball game is finally about to begin. And as expected, Dev's team is preparing to step onto the court. Now we move to the final basketball match of RJ's team. Everyone had already arrived at the stadium, but Belle was nowhere to be seen. Dev kept looking around, waiting for her and wondering where she had gone. Meanwhile, Belle had gone somewhere very important. She was meeting Dev's mother. During their conversation, Belle told her that Dev really wanted her to come and watch his basketball match. She explained how much Dev had been suffering because she refused to talk to him. Belle also reminded her that Dev wasn't the one who had committed the crime. The real culprit was the thief, yet Dev was the one carrying all the pain. Belle then asked her if she could finally forgive her son and give him another chance. While Belle was talking to her, Dev called her and asked where she was. Just then, Belle arrived at the stadium and replied, "I'm right here." Seeing her, Dev immediately asked where she had been all this time. Belle smiled and said, "I went to get a surprise for you." Dev became curious and asked, "Then where's my surprise?" Before Belle could answer, someone suddenly appeared behind him. It was Dev's mother. The moment Dev saw her, his eyes lit up with happiness. His mother walked up to him and apologized for all the pain she had caused him over the past months. Hearing those words made Dev emotional. He admitted that there were times when he genuinely felt that nobody loved him anymore. His mother immediately hugged him and said, "Who told you that? I love you." Then she added, "And there's someone else who loves you very much too." Dev looked confused and asked who she was talking about. His mother smiled and pointed toward Belle. "Belle." Dev immediately asked, "Do you really think Belle loves me?" His mother laughed and said, "Of course. If she didn't love you, why would she do all of this for you?" Hearing that instantly made Dev happy. Soon, it was time for the basketball match to begin. Dev said goodbye to both Belle and his mother before heading onto the court. As Belle and Dev's mother were making their way inside, another surprise arrived. RJ showed up with Belle's uncle and grandmother. Seeing them made Belle incredibly happy because she hadn't expected them to come. Shortly afterward, the game officially started. During the first half, RJ's team was dominating the match. RJ couldn't resist teasing Dev and kept provoking him. He mocked Dev's performance and even said, "If you can't even play basketball properly, then how are you supposed to protect Belle?" Those words immediately made Dev angry. However, after the halftime break, everything changed. Dev returned to the court with a completely different mindset. He started playing exceptionally well and gradually turned the entire game around. By the end of the match, Dev's team emerged victorious. Everyone in the stadium erupted with excitement. Belle was especially happy. The moment the final whistle blew, she ran straight toward Dev and hugged him tightly. Unfortunately, watching that scene broke RJ's heart. After the celebrations ended, everyone gradually left the stadium, but Belle stayed behind because she wanted to wait for Dev. While she was waiting, RJ approached her. This time, RJ decided to be completely honest. He told Belle that he no longer wanted to remain just friends. He wanted to go back to the way things used to be. He wanted to be Belle's boyfriend again. Then he asked if Belle could give him one more chance. Belle gently shook her head and reminded RJ that she had already told him before that it wasn't possible. After saying that, Belle started walking away. But RJ stopped her one last time and asked a painful question. "Do you not like me anymore?" Belle paused before answering, "I do like you." Unfortunately, at that exact moment, Dev arrived. He only heard those 3 words, "I do like you." Without hearing the rest of the conversation, Dev immediately misunderstood the situation. Feeling hurt, he turned around and walked away. Belle quickly tried to chase after him, but RJ stopped her again. At that point, Belle finally clarified everything. He looked directly at RJ and said, "I like you, but as a friend." Then she continued, "The person in my heart right now is Dev. I love him." Those words completely shattered RJ's heart. Realizing that he had truly lost Belle, RJ slowly let go of her hand. The moment he did, Belle rushed after Dev. By then, Dev was already getting into his car and preparing to leave. Belle ran in front of the vehicle and blocked his path. Annoyed and heartbroken, Dev got out and asked, "What is your problem?" Belle immediately replied, "You are." Then she continued, "You told me to take my time and give you an answer, but now you're leaving me behind." Dev looked at her and said, "You know how I feel about you. Then why do you keep hurting me? If your answer is no, then just tell me right now. I know RJ is still in your heart. You haven't forgotten him and you still like him." Hearing that accusation made Belle upset. She replied, "And what about the pain you're causing me? You don't even trust me." Then, finally, Belle said the words Dev had been waiting to hear. "I love you." Dev froze. Confused, he asked, "Then why did you say those things to RJ a few minutes ago?" Belle sighed and explained everything. "I was trying to tell him that I like him as a friend, but you got angry and left before hearing the entire sentence." Then she looked straight into Dev's eyes and continued, "I don't have any romantic feelings for RJ anymore." After a brief pause, she finally confessed, "Because I love you." The moment those words left Belle's mouth, all of Dev's anger disappeared instantly. A huge smile appeared on his face. Then he replied, "I love you too." And just as the two were about to kiss, the scene suddenly cuts away. Seriously, what timing? Just when we were finally about to get some romance, the director decided to end the moment right there. After that, we see a scene at a club where everyone is celebrating together. Dev proudly announces to everyone that from this day forward, he and Belle are officially boyfriend and girlfriend. Hearing that makes everyone extremely happy. At that moment, Belle's uncle jokingly reminds Dev that he still needs permission from Belle's father. Dev confidently replies that he'll impress Belle's father very soon as well. However, right then, Dev receives an unexpected phone call. The caller informs him that they've found a video from the night of the incident. The footage clearly shows the thief, and they send the video to Dev so he can watch it carefully. The drama then briefly shows us what's inside that video. On the night of the tragedy, when Dev's brother and another person were leaving the club, they noticed several thieves attempting to steal a car. Dev's brother tried to stop them, but during the confrontation, one of the criminals pulled out a gun and shot him. Then comes the biggest shock. We see Belle's uncle nearby, secretly talking to someone on the phone. This heavily implies that Belle's uncle was connected to the gang of thieves all along. But Dev doesn't watch the video immediately. Instead, he puts everything aside and walks over to Belle. The two begin dancing together while enjoying their special moment. As this happens, we hear Dev's voice in the background. He says that their first meeting wasn't an accident at all. It was destiny. And because of that destiny, the two of them were finally able to find each other and become one. And with that beautiful moment, Season 1 of this drama comes to an end. However, the story is far from over because that shocking revelation about Belle's uncle opens the door to an even bigger mystery in Season 2. So if you want to see Season 2, make sure to leave a comment and let me know. We'll meet again in the next video. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end.